Welcome everyone to episode 122 of Instigate Success, building an ABA franchise. I'm your host, as always, Jake Schoen, aka Jakey Muffins, here for tonight's episode. We are back this week covering the end of the ABA season, the 2025-2026 season. There is only four teams that remain. We'll take a look at that and kind of break down a little bit more of our past season as well. But I think we're going to primarily focus on the ABA Championship weekend we got coming up. That is not this weekend. We have the holiday this weekend. It's going to be next weekend. So next weekend that will be the championship weekend for this year's ABA season. That championship weekend is in Atlanta. So kind of close to where I'm at, or at least within driving distance. I'm actually going to be traveling next weekend and the following. So as far as a scheduling update, I won't be able to be here on the podcast for the next 2 weeks. I'll be back after that, though. But that is next weekend, the championship weekend for the ABA. So let's get into things here. And we're going to take a look. We're going to jump over to Minotaur's page, as they do an amazing job with covering everything for the ABA. And they've kind of got everything streamlined as far as the championship weekend we got coming up here. So we're gonna use their page to kind of look at stuff. Right. All right. So over on their page, if you didn't notice this, just recently within the past few weeks, they did rebrand as Minotaur Media instead of Minotaur Streaming. Same great product though, just a little bit updated on the logo there, and the website name is updated there as well. But still great content here. So everything to know for championship weekend we've got. Again, if you don't follow Minotaur Media, I highly recommend that you do give them a follow again, as they stay on top of all this stuff with the ABA and do an amazing job, not only with staying up with the league, making the graphics, content, etc., and also streaming some of the games. So this is what we've got. We've got the streamlined graphic from them here, as far as the division winners and kind of the breakdown of how the playoffs have gone. So taking a look in the East region, it was between the New England Lightning and the Buffalo Extreme, Delaware Dogs and Hartford Colts. Extreme and Colts won their respective matchups, with the Extreme uh, coming out on top to represent the East. Extreme, we're going to pull up the top 25 power rankings, because the Extreme had been the number one team for the vast majority of the season. Never lost a game. However, they did wind up falling to the number two spot to one of these other teams that you will see in the Final Four as well. Our region, the Central region, Steel City Yellow Jackets won the division after defeating us, and they got to face the Nashville Aces, who are also undefeated, like the Extreme. The 402 Elite took on Chicago Fury, the defending champions. And then in a matchup last weekend, which was an amazing game, if you got to catch that live, a lot of back and forth action between the Aces and the Fury. The Aces were victorious, and they are moving on to their first Final Four championship weekend. So obviously representing the Central region, I feel like that's probably who most of us are going to be pulling for. Take a look out in the South. It was the Mississippi Silverbacks, who I believe at that point were undefeated or maybe one loss against the Austin Bats. Austin Bats with one loss. Florida Tropics in their very first season, winning their division, taking on the Chattanooga Strike. I believe they may have also been a first season team as well. The Bats and the Tropic move on, and the Bats ultimately win the South. But I do think it does deserve a shout out to say how well of a job the Florida Tropics did in their first season. Obviously, we know and everybody knows how difficult it is in that inaugural season to put everything together, and for them not to only put everything together, but to make it that far to what would that be, the final 8 teams in the ABA in their very first season. That is a pretty big feat for them to do. And then obviously, they're branding the tropics. Obviously, that's something I thought had been cool throughout the season. Out in the West, a little bit slimmer as far as the divisions. So we had the matchup between the Las Vegas Royals and the San Diego Suns. Winner of that, which happened to be the Suns, took on the Silicon Valley Panthers, and the Panthers won that game as well. They were undefeated on the season, and I believe finished the year uh, as the number one team in the league according to the final standings. But that's what you got as far as that. Actually, they break it down here. So the Buffalo Extreme, as I mentioned, number two team, and 23-0 on the season so far. Nashville Aces, number three team, 23-0 as well. Austin Bats, number five team, with one loss there, 22-1, and SVP, number one team overall, 23-0. As you can see there, pretty astonishing numbers between the four teams there. 91-1 combined record. All were the number one seeds in their regions. And there's a reason why they were the number one seeds and ranked so high. They are very good teams. As you see here, some info as far as where the game is taking place. Again, it is in Atlanta, and that is going to be the gym. It's the Paradise CDC Gym and Cultural Center. And it takes place again, that's next weekend. And it's Friday. Okay, so Friday is going to be your opening games. So opening round of games on Friday. Actually, that's during the day. I was going to say Friday night. That's 4 p.m. on Friday. That's kind of surprising. The Austin Bats and the Panthers take on each other. And then the Extreme and the Aces. And I think, obviously I'm a little biased on this, but that's the game that I'm going to have circled because, obviously you got the Aces there. But I think the Extreme truly were the number one team throughout the year. I don't know how they fell to that number two spot, without having a loss. So that's just my opinion on that. The 3-on-3 tournament, something that ABA had been pushing throughout the past couple of years. They're doing a 3-on-3 tournament, as well as All Star and Skill Challenge is on Saturday. Um, that tournament, it looks like, starts at 10 a.m. very early in the morning. So not sure why all these are so early, but it's what it is. And the All Star festivities at 4. Championship game at 2 p.m. Eastern. Again, that's a bit of an early matchup there. But that's what they got scheduled. If you're in the area or want to go down to Atlanta, you can get your tickets there. It's about $50. They also have a pay-per-view option where you can watch live. That is about $23, and you can purchase through those links. And I believe I heard that a member of Minotaur is actually going to be down there calling some of the action for the weekend. So huge shout out to them on that. Obviously, As you've seen, a lot of these graphics on here from Minotaur actually wound up being used on the ABA pages. So cool for that to see them, kind of grow with the ABA as well and be able to represent the league. Definitely, like I said, I think they are more than worthy of that. And, I again recommend if you haven't already, give them a follow on all socials. Keep up with the, um, ABA. So that's what we got over on the Minotaur page. They also did a pretty cool breakdown of kind of like, get to know these teams. So we've got these little posts here they did. So SVP, why you should root for the Panthers. A lot of these teams we know the Aces, but the other three teams we've heard of, but we don't know quite as much. I feel like with these other teams, they did a great job by covering these. Um, so with the Panthers, they break down, the owners, the coaching, um, even like the areas of the teams. So if you didn't know, Silicon Valley is the southern portion of San Fran. Um, you got that. And as you see there, I mean, SVP, they are an elite team. We knew that, obviously, with being the number one ranked team, they are going to be. But you see there, they had 200-point games, and they also held their opponents under 100 points a bunch of times. So that's a pretty big point differential there. And then this is another cool thing, is they kind of gave you some guys to watch here too. So if you're again not familiar with these teams as much, but you catch these games, gives you kind of an eye or something to keep an eye on, and some familiarity as far as some of the numbers and names that you might be seeing. So they got on here Michael Kirkland was the leading scorer for the Panthers, averaging that's 33.1 points per game, and 50% on three pointers. That's the same shooting percentage. If you remember, our best 3-point shooter in history, Lawan Whitney, aka Swish, he had 50% on the field from threes in our season one. So definitely, if you remember how lethal Swish was beyond the arc, Kirkland is just as good. He definitely is a guy you're gonna have to keep an eye out for. It looks like he's also one of the team leaders in rebounds, assists, and steals. And you can see there kind of his background there as far as college from Sacramento City College, transferring to Wallace Community College, and then to Notre Dame in the Cleveland metropolitan area and Benedictine University. And an all second team all conference in that. But as it was mentioned, he only played 10 games, and despite playing only half of the season, he still was a first team All ABA player. Another guy to look out for with the Panthers, Ish Ali, number 8, was the team leader in assists. Very impressive, 111 assists throughout the season. And it looks like he had the third most rebounds, but he also led the team in steals and blocks. And with him being only 6'1", that is definitely an impressive stat to lead in. And he played in the MAC for Bowling Green State, so that's pretty cool. And number 7 in the MAC in assists per game. It looks like he has played a little bit of international basketball over in Mexico. Now he's on the Silicon Valley Panthers. Then it looks like the third guy they got to keep an eye on is Kellen Sweetwine, number 22. And he is another guy who only played about half the season there. Um, but it looks like from the history of the Panthers that he has the ability to get hot and have big scoring games. So he's going to be a guy to watch out for in that. He's got some overseas experience, it looks like, in Portugal and Africa. Um, he only played 8 games this season. That still was enough for him to get a second team All ABA recognition. And then the other cool thing here is they put the links for all these teams. You can follow them, catch their games, and get footage and whatnot. So that's for the West. So we're going to go the opposite. We're going to go to the East. I don't think that jumped over, did it? That did not jump over. Let's see if it jumps over on this side. Okay, that's how we can do it. So Buffalo Extreme, as we mentioned, number 1 and number 2 throughout the season. Even though they did not drop a game, they fell to the number 2 spot. They are in their third season, which is impressive. Obviously, they were in the Final Four last season. And it looks like their all-time record is 69-4. Again, that's very impressive. And last year, the only team that they lost to, or no, not the only team, the team that knocked them out in the Final Four for championship weekend actually was the Silicon Valley Panthers. But that is the team that jumped over them at the end of the season in the power rankings. So I guess that could be your reasoning behind that for the ABA. As far as a potential rematch, there is a potential for that, depending on the outcomes of the semifinal games. And it looks like some things to look for when you're watching the extreme. They've got tall guys and fast guys, and they bring action and slam dunks. Obviously, I might be a little bit biased, being from the Northeast and, going to Syracuse, familiar with the Buffalo region. Last year, the extreme actually had a Syracuse player I went to college with. So obviously, I kept up with that. Howard Washington, he is not on the team this season. However, I was gonna say if you had to bet a guy to watch, that was gonna be the guy. I was gonna say it was Javon McRae. He was the all-time leading scorer for the University of Buffalo. So clearly a dude that knows how to score. 6'7" power forward, but he also has experience playing in the NBA Summer League, and he also had some international experience there as well. Um, and not only is he a scorer, he's also there. He was the second leading rebounder, and he also had a bunch of blocks this year for the elite. It's not the elite, the extreme. But that again, that's who I would have said is Javon McRae. Definitely a guy to watch out for with the extreme. Marcus Fagan, number 0, is a forward that's only 6'3", but He was eighth in the ABA for rebounds, and he had almost half of his rebounds were offensive rebounds. So that is another thing that's key, especially in these close games, is those second chance opportunities. So those offensive rebounds, those are key in especially tight matchups. And it looks like he played some international basketball as well as in the TBL. And there's a bunch of different guys that they could have went with. They went with Jay Scarborough, number 4, um, for the third guy to watch on the extreme. It was fifth in the league in steals, and he's only 5'9". So that's pretty impressive when you think about it to have a 5'9" player. Also with 91 rebounds on the season, um, and he is a native of the Buffalo region. That's pretty cool to see. And he's also a basketball coach himself. So that's cool to see there too. Niagara Falls High School women's basketball coach. So it's cool to see that. And it's like he was named the coach of the year in his respective league. And if I'm not mistaken, those shoes he's got on there, he's got some peanut butter and jelly KDs. So definitely got some style too. And again, you can follow them on all of their links here. And let's jump over to the one other that we are not quite as familiar with, the Austin Bats. And Austin Bats only loss on the season there was against the Alamo City All Stars in a game that they just did not put things together. It looks like with a 95-78 loss. However, if you're too superstitious, maybe that's actually a good thing that you have your loss before the championship weekend, because then you get it out of the way before the rest of the teams. But anyways, let's see as far as some of their other stuff. Looks like they've had big scoring games, and they are going to have one of the highest offensive in the league. 14 games in the season with 139 or higher. That's a lot of points. 7 over 160. And in the playoffs, they had a 159. Um, but they're a very fast-paced team. A team that can score a bunch in a lot short amount of time. Their guys to watch, it looks like, is going to be Ty Jordan, number 2. He led the entire ABA in points, 815 points, just destroying everybody as far as the total points on the season by 228 for the next dude. That's 35.4 points per game. Very impressive. Over 100 assists on the year and over 50 steals. So a well-rounded player there. Experience comes from Malone University in Canton, Ohio, as well as playing overseas in a few different countries, as well as in the TBL. And of course, he's a first team All ABA player. Next guy to keep an eye on is going to be Jamichael Brown, number 3. Also another first team All ABA player, and third in scoring in the ABA. So yeah, that's 2 of the top 3 in the league were on the bats. But he also had the most assists in the league and the most defensive rebounds in the league and the third most total rebounds in the league. So he is definitely one of the guys that is going to be at the top of any category when you look at the ABA for this season. Averages a triple double, and that's pretty crazy impressive actually. 25.2, 12 assists, and 10 and a half rebounds per game. Absolutely insane numbers there for Jamichael Brown. O'Neal Mims, their big man, 6'10", getting boards on the games there, over 11 rebounds per game. And also a bunch of blocks there for O'Neal as well. And follow them and check out their socials there. Um, and I think that's pretty much what we're going to jump off of for championship information from Minotaur. Again, shout out to them. Definitely, they earned that spot to, be there and help represent the ABA for the All Star and Championship weekend. And, all they do is keep everybody in the loop with the ABA. They make some great graphics for the ABA. And make it easy for us to keep up to date with that type of stuff. We're going to take a look though over on the ABA website, and pull up the final rankings, so that way you kind of have an idea as far as where these teams stand and the teams that were around them throughout the season. So as we mentioned, Silicon Valley Panthers, number one team in the league. Buffalo Extreme, number two, and they went back and forth. The Extreme were number one for a while, then they dropped to two, tied for, and so on. But anyways, it finishes with the Panthers number one, Extreme number two, Aces number three. So that's the highest ranking for the Aces on a season. Wyoming Valley Clutch were number four on the season, undefeated. However, they were in the Eastern region. So ultimately, they were not able to finish undefeated in the East region. And, obviously Extreme moving on in that region. Austin Bats, number five with one loss. And they're actually ranked above the Mississippi Silverbacks in the South region, who had no losses, but they did wind up defeating them in the playoffs. The New England Lightning, a team that made it a far run in the playoffs as well. At seven, Chicago Fury, number eight. They also made a deep run. Windy City Inferno, another team in our central region, at number nine, with two losses. Strong Arm Ballers as well, for, two losses. And the Steel City Yellow Jackets, the winner of our division, at number 11 on the season. That's pretty much the ones to call out. The Ohio Kings, I feel like we got to call them out too, as we played them a few times, and they also were uh, only lost to the Nashville Aces three times. All three of their losses, all against the Nashville Aces. So I feel like they're one of those teams that had they not had to play the Aces, they probably could have won just about every game. You got that. And I do think it is interesting to note here the Florida Tropics did not wind up in that top 25 at the end of the season, but they did have a very impressive, end to their season. Got that. And then we're going to take a look at the All ABA team. So this is from Minotaur. This is the All ABA for the Central region, all of the players that had made it. So obviously we had our two guys, David Kelly and Lawrence Boyd. Obviously, huge congratulations to those two guys. And then you'll see some familiar names throughout the Central region, obviously Mike Saunders in the games that we played against the Legends, huge score. Kendall as well for the Legends. Heidelberg for the Lions. Obviously a big score there. For the Louisville Pros, Dominique Williams, uh, as well as Anthony Southers. Nashville Aces surprisingly only had two players on there. George Stanberry, and Jamario Rivers. Jamario, um, you know, actually is in the TBL now, so he's not even, as far as I know, unless he's something changed. I don't believe he's on the team active roster right now. Courtney Ware with the Ohio Kings as well as Lions. Last name Lions, Marlin Lions. Dylan Cormier and Kenny Holmes for the Yellow Jackets, two high scoring guys. Rodney Gaston Jr. And you see there, the Inferno actually had three guys there, Gaston Jr., Tate, and Galleon. Um, for Windy City, I feel like we're missing people though from maybe the Chicago Fury on there. Um, but we've got second team All ABA up here. Just calling out some names that you may know. Obviously, Javon McCray, somebody that we talked about recently with the Buffalo Extreme. Although I would say you could put him on first team. You got Capri Austin there with the Chicago Fury. You see, we got that's where they have some of our guys there, Anthony, or not our guys, but our region. Anthony Southers, Jamario Rivers, Marlon Lyons, Jafar Tate. First team, the 402 Elite had Elijah Gibson up there. For the Austin Bats, they had Ty Jordan and Jamichael Brown. Devontae Jones for the Chicago Fury. Indiana Legends, Mike Saunders was a first team, as well as Jordan Heidelberg for the Lions. Dominique Williams with the Pros. George Stanberry with the Aces. Courtney Ware with the Kings. Silicon Valley Panthers, Kirkland, there is him, as well as two Steel City Yellow Jackets, Dylan Cormier and Kenny Holmes. And I believe it's Dylan Cormier, unless I'm mistaken. I don't believe it's Dylan, but we'll see. Rodney Gaston Jr. for the Inferno. I think that is. Oh, this is the honorable mention page. So honorable mention, that is where our guys had been, David Kelly and Lawrence Boyd. So that is, the all ABA team for the 2025-2026 season. And we are going to jump over to the scoreboards. So scoreboards for the playoffs, as far as like the division championships and fourth. This is going to be your top 16 games. So the Suns took down the Guy Levy Legends. Suns took down the Las Vegas Royals there in an 11-point victory. Florida Tropics with a 7-point win over the Strike. The Fury, though, with a pretty big win there, 110-83 over the 402 Elite. Mississippi Silverbacks, undefeated on the season, got their first loss there on the season, a 2-point loss, very close game there to the Austin Bats. Buffalo Extreme with a handed victory there, 105-71 over the Lightning. Hartford Colts, again, with a pretty big win there too as well, 124-95 over the Dogs. Nashville Aces handled business against the Yellow Jackets, 137-118. Um, and then this past weekend was the game between the Aces and the Fury. Let's see. I wonder if we've got stats on that one. That was a so Fury don't have the stats, but the Aces do. George Stanberry with 38 points in that game, as well as 10 boards and 7 assists, yeah, and 6 steals. That's a impressive there, but a double double for him. 8 steals though for Jalen Kelso, with also 14 points, 7 assists, and 4 boards. Um, and if you watch that game, you see in Derek Jolly hit some key threes down the road with 23 points on the game, 6 of them from downtown, or 6 3-pointers made, I should say, as well as 5 rebounds and 2 assists. But that's some of your key guys there. 43 points for the Aces in that fourth quarter, though. So that was an 8-point victory for the Aces in that very close game. If you did catch that, it was a good stream. The Silicon Valley Panthers, a little bit more deciding victory, though, a 150 to 129 victory over the Suns. The Austin Bats, it looks like, was a 4-point game between them and the Florida Tropics. I wonder if they've got stats in there. It looks like we got some stats. We've got the Bats stats. Tyrone Jordan with 27 leading the way. O'Neal Mims, a guy to watch, is double there, 20 and 11. And then the Buffalo Extreme with a 122 to 110 victory over the Colts. And we're going to check this out, see if they got stats on here too. And they do, but the Extreme don't have stats. And let's see if the Panthers got. And the Panthers do have stats. So their leading scorer was Tyrell Alcorn, 30 points. Hamid Ali with 26. Michael Kirkland, 24. And that's what we got around the league. We're going to take a look and just take a look and see the leaders in stats for your ABA season. So leading points per game, leading score is going to be Tyrone Jordan with the Austin Bats. You can see there, Dominique Williams was 4th on the season. Impressive season for him. 29.9 points per game, almost 30. You got him. Austin Bats with Jamichael Brown there too, 25.2. I think you got to shout out though Dominique Williams, somebody that we've played against numerous occasions. He actually sees himself in the top 10 for all of these stats. So I just feel like that's something you got to call out. 29.9 points per game, 4th overall on points per game. Assists per game, 11 and a half. That's number 3 in the nation. Steals per game, destroyed everybody, 8.2. And rebounds per game at 10.1. So definitely earning that first team All ABA. Assists per game, though, Cameron Moore led the way with 14.7. Austin Bats, Jamichael Brown, number 2, with 12. Looks like. I think that's it for the teams in there. Rebounds per game, Anthony Southers with the Louisville Pros letting the way, 15.2 rebounds per game. Austin Matz, O'Neal Mims, as well as Jamichael Brown in the top 10 as well. Mims, number 5 with 11.1. and the Jamichael Brown with 10.5 at number 7. Buffalo Extreme with two guys in the top 10 as well. Javon McRae at 10 with 9.5, and Marcus Fagan with 11.1. Steals per game, as mentioned before, Dominique Williams led the way there, 8.2. Buffalo Extreme, Jay Scarborough with 4.6, and tied for number 3. Then you got the another Louisville Pros player at number 8, Savion Nicholas with 2.7, and Jamichael Brown for the Austin Bats at 2.6 with the number 10 overall. Taking a look though at our season, we finished 9-7 if you include the playoffs, and that is our most wins in a season, our best record on a season, and again, that's going to be the most wins by a head coach. So shout out again to Coach Dobbs, destroying the record held by former interim coach and co-owner founder, Corey Curran, aka Frosty. So he no longer has those bragging rights. It now is solely the bragging rights of Coach Dobbs. So congratulations on that. Um, but that is pretty much what we got as far as the season. In the next few episodes, we'll break down more of kind of some off-season stuff. Take a look at what we got coming up. Obviously, we're gonna have some stuff we're working on here. Um, if you've been over on the Patreon, you've seen probably some of the posts we've got as far as kind of breaking down finances and some of the more exclusive information, the behind the scenes that go along with running and owning and operating a team. And then obviously we're going to be looking for your input as we make some of these key decisions down the road for the next season of Instigators basketball. But we'll definitely keep you guys on and involved with these decisions. We're gonna have some pretty big decisions actually that you guys can help with, and as we get closer and can obviously when we have more stuff to share, then we will do that as much and as well as we can. Um, may have seen over on our social medias as well. We do have where you can be a personal sponsor, help fundraise for the next season of Instigators basketball. And even if you can't help, donate yourself, if you could share that, that means just as much to us. And we want to say thank you. Obviously myself on the ownership group, but all of us from the ownership group, we truly mean this when we say this. We want to thank each and every one of you who has been a fan and who is a fan of the Hoosier State Instigators. Are truly the reason we still and have been able to accomplish what we have been. This was our third season, which is crazy to me, and kind of impressive when we talk about it. With the ownership group, especially with a lot of us coming from the fan controlled world. Fan controlled had a ton more funding, and we're just being completely honest when we're saying that. They had huge investors, they had backings by major companies, and they were only able to do 2 seasons of fan controlled football. We have fully completed our third season of ABA basketball. So we truly would not be able to do that without you, the fans, helping us make some of these important decisions, but also being there for us and supporting us. Also, we wouldn't be able to do this without the amazing players and coaches that have been a part of the Hoosier State Instigators over all of the seasons that we have had. So again, as an owner, I want to say thank you not only to our fans, our players, our coaches, everybody that has always been involved, obviously our sponsors as well. each and every person that has joined on one of these streams, been as one of the views, especially this past season. If you're one of those over 5 million people that were viewing one of our posts, that Brayton Laster post, the celebrity player, thank you for helping support us. And if you're one of the 200 plus thousand that shared that, we really appreciate that too. Obviously, but again, that's just a something that I want to say. With us wrapping up our season, I truly appreciate and want to thank everybody for their support on that. And we are looking forward to hopefully being back bigger and better as and than ever. Next season. That's always the goal. So I feel like this was kind of a good year that we ramped a lot of stuff up. Obviously, 5 million views is a lot. It's going to be a lot for us to beat next season. Um, but man, we're gonna try to do that. Obviously, I think some of the more important stuff that we are like really focused on though is going to be improvement on the team. We had our most wins on the season, um, and we want to make sure that we can continue to grow that. And we got in the chat here somebody that agrees we're going to be going further for sure. Believe is that might be Nate. Um, but we had 8 regular seasons wins. That was our most wins in a regular season. We had our first playoff win, our first winning record on a season to finish a season. I believe we were less than 500 in the first 2 seasons. Um, Technically, Corey, when he filled in, had a winning record as a coach, but this is our first full season. Obviously with Coach Dobbs having the winning record. Um, one game away from a championship banner for the division. Um, you know, so lots of things to be proud of. Not only as an owner, as a fan, etc. Um, but I think it's a great foundation for what Hoosier State Instigators basketball truly can be. When we had this vision going into us from fan controlled and trying to have us branch into the sports realm with Apex Athletics, um, you know, we jumped into the ABA and we took that leap of faith, and we've proven that we're able to compete. We're able to be successful, and we're going to continue to be doing that and growing the brand of Instigators basketball. So again, we have a lot of stuff that we'll be keeping you guys in the loop in, and hearing your input and helping shape the future of Instigators basketball. But I think we're going to wrap it up for tonight's episode. Again, scheduling wise, I will be out traveling the next few weekends. So next week and the following week, I will not be here to host, but I will be back on the 24th for that week's episode. Um, so I won't be here for the championship weekend, to go over stuff or the weekend following. But we'll be back on the 24th. We'll recap the championship weekend for the 25th anniversary year of the ABA coming back and all the stuff that went down in Atlanta. But that's what we got. And then obviously we're going to have some, hopefully by that point, some more off-season news. Keep a lookout though on our social media. We're going to be posting more highlights. If you didn't catch that, we posted a pretty cool highlight of the game against the Shuckers with a steal and a dunk, fast break pass that led to a dunk by Vaughn Wilson. But we are going to be posting more of that type of stuff throughout the off season. So keep an eye out for that too. But that's going to be it for tonight's episode. Again, episode 122 of Instigate Success, building an ABA franchise. Be sure to check out our social media, and if you can, share the fundraising, the individual sponsor posts, and if you can donate as well, we very much appreciate that. But again, thank you for all of your support, for helping us do this, create season 3 and complete 3 seasons and continue to improve with the Hoosier State Instigators, and getting through 122 episodes of this podcast. But until next time, again, that's going to be the 24th in a few weeks. Be great and instigate.